All right, in this lesson, we're going to be creating a few looks from La La Land. And La La Land is just such a fun film because when you look at the grade on this, it looks very basic, like almost Rec 709, but with a little bit of a flair. So, like, even if you look at this, like, the grain is really nice, but besides that, it's just very, like, Rec 709 ish, but then has, like, just a little zing. So, that's what we're going to be creating in this lesson, and we're going to start off with this guy right here. So let's just get right in. So I'm going to start with my contrast and raise my highlights a little bit, raise my midtones a bit, bring my lift down, and keep my gain here somewhere, and then start giving it contrast. And now I'm going to bring my lift up a little bit. I want detail in his face, and I'm gonna bring my gain up a little bit. I'm gonna give it a little bit more contrast, but I think then I'm gonna kind of hit the brakes on the contrast because I don't want him to look dirty. So I'm gonna bring him up a little bit, bring the lift up a little bit, and bring the gain down, and then give it a bit more contrast. Or are we there? I think we're almost there, and then I'm just gonna use my log wheels to pull it down a little bit more. Somewhere around there, and then maybe loosen up the contrast just a touch, like that, and then raise my highlights somewhere around there. Alright, let's start giving it saturation. I'm gonna park it somewhere around here. Where am I at? 61. 61 is fine. So, a couple of things that are going on, okay? One, I was using a super small source of light, so the red is just kind of fading away, so we got to bring that red back. And I'm going to show you a way that I'm going to use to bring that back, but there's many different ways you can do it. And once we get that in and have a nice color going everywhere, then we're going to work on him and go from there. So let's create another node. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a circle shape, and I'm gonna make it something like that, this, and we're just gonna expand it like that, and I'm gonna give it more, so something like this, and I want to work outside of that, and this is what I want to do. I'm gonna just take my gain and my gamma and start adding a lot of red. You know what? I don't want to use this anymore. I'm gonna use this guy and put this up here and slide it down. Like that. And maybe we can just take it all the way. Like that. And then what I want to do is create another one right in the middle here, and we're pretty much gonna unselect everything within that, and we can do it by clicking this guy right here. Actually, yeah, this guy right here, and we can say leave this alone and then grab everything else. So something like that, right? And because it's a static shot, it's not going anywhere, so we can keep it somewhere around here. And now we're starting to have a very nice red everywhere, and maybe we can just exaggerate it a little bit more. And another thing we can do is go back to this window and raise it up, because we never needed it that much down below. We needed it up top. And then I'm going to come in here oh, that's what's happening. So then I gotta do this. And then I'll take this and bring it up. And I'm gonna bring this down and keep it somewhere around here. And now we have somewhat of a pretty even red throughout the entire thing, and that's not looking bad. And now what I want to do is I'm going to create a parallel node, and in that parallel node I'm going to try to qualify him, pull his skin, and then widen it up a little bit. Let's select all of it. And I don't want to grab this red, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a really tight shape like that, and then I'm gonna track it. And now what we can do is we can just pull some of that red out. I mean, there's different ways to do it, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in hue versus saturation, and I'm going to just pull down on red. And then I'm going to go into my gain. I'm going to go into my gamma, and I'm just going to pull that down. And then I'm just going to give them a little bit more life, so I'm going to bring them up. And let me see if I can grab a little bit more. And I just want to make sure that I can grab his lips too. And then while we're at it, let's try to grab his eyes. Alright, so now we normalize the whole thing, and then let me just go ahead and track him. Alright, and now if we look at these two nodes, there's a lot that's happening here. Now what I want to do is I want to go in a different node and just try to pull, I want to bring our actress in and see what's happening and try to create that by using my primary. So I'm just gonna add some warmth and then add more red. And then what I want to do is I want to create another node, and now we're gonna do our vignetting. So I'm just gonna do a regular sort of this kind of action. And I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna lock these up and bring it down. I'm gonna look at how crazy it is here and try to create a similar thing. And then what I want to do is just go grab that and really bring it down and give it color. I mean, somewhere around there. I'm liking that red. And then I want to go into his skin and raise it up. Just really want to pull him out and then add some more color. And what I'm gonna do is I actually don't need to create an outside, so let's add some sharpness. And then we're gonna be needing a ton of grain. Because if you look at this, it has so much grain, it's not even funny. I mean, maybe we don't need that much grain, but we definitely need this much grain. So we went from this to this. Pretty adorable. Let's just watch it before and then after. I think our face is still very much affected by this, and we even had like a window. Yeah, let me see, because I feel like we need to really pull them. So I guess that's better. So that's definitely better. So this is before, and then this is after. So this one took some time just because there were some issues that we had to fix, or else we were in a pretty good shape. So, you know, the thing that's happening here that I wanted to mimic was obviously the skin, and like really bring it up and go in that direction. And I think we can even go more in that direction. Like it's almost like that. Alright, so we were able to create a pretty cool look. And then one thing that we can do is just in my global adjustment, I would like to do an overall contrast. So I'm going to do that by bringing my highlights down, bringing my shadows up, and then adding more contrast. And then I'm going to bring my midtones up. So let's look at it. Let me get rid of this and look at that. And let's do this. Let me just pull this open. And we're looking pretty good. I think this contrast is really giving it that last touch to bring it all in and give it that film look. And let me see if we can make our reds that crazy. So I'm gonna go under hue versus hue and grab my reds and push it towards that. I mean, look at this. This node is doing so much. And then this node is doing so much, pulling his face out, and we tracked it. And then here we just did sort of like another look adjustment, and then here we just brought everything around him down to really pop him out, and then added some sharpness, lots of grain, and then final contrast adjustment. I think it was needed. And there we are. So that's the idea behind La La Land look. Like, it's just, like I said, you know, it's poppy and it could be tricky to get it in there, but it's really just well balanced look. So that's one. Moving on to our next shot, and it needs some correction in our scaling, and we'll just grab this and do fill. And that didn't do it, so that's okay. We're just gonna use zoom. Punch it in and now bring it in. And here we're gonna be creating this look right there. I'm gonna pop it open, and that is a fun basic look. And again, it's very much just white balanced and then added extra pop and just some zing. So that's what we're going for. So let's start off. I'm just gonna start off with creating my contrast, and I'm gonna raise my gamma. I'm gonna bring my highlights down, raise my gamma more, start adding contrast, and I'm gonna park it somewhere here. I'm gonna raise my gamma, and I'm gonna add more contrast. I'm gonna add, just raise my gamma more. Somewhere around here. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to try using my temperature control right here, temperature and tint, to see if I can dial it in. So I'm going to cool it off. First of all, let's give it some saturation. So I'm going to bring it up around 65-ish, and now I'm going to cool it off. And stay somewhere around here, and then add some green. Maybe the green is not necessary. So let's leave that there, right? So this looks like something is happening. What's really not happening is that the skin needs to be pulled, and then we need to add more juice to it. So in a case like that, I would recommend doing this. Let's reset our temperature, and what you want to do in your first node is to create as much separation as possible, and then pull a key and then create a look. It will make sense in a second. So what I'm going to do instead is just dial in everything, give it more saturation so we have more separation. We need a lot of separation right now. So I'm going to do something like that, and now whites are looking white, red is looking red, and the skin is coming to life. And I'm going to do this first, and then what I'm going to do is create a new node. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pull her skin. And let's bring this, make that pretty tight. Let's give it a lot of blur. Alright, let's see how that does. So now that we have our skin selected, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna try to add some of that. Okay, so I'm gonna give her some juice, bring her up, and just add some warmth into it, but also there's a lot of magenta going on. So I mean, we've come a long way, and then we're gonna go ahead and soften the skin a little bit, balance out everything. And now I'm looking at that, and we can pull some color to give it that pale thing that's going on in La La Land. So even if I park it somewhere around there, that's looking pretty good. So now I'm gonna create a parallel node, and that's where I'm gonna go back to my offset and temperature, and I'm gonna cool it off even more to kind of take it in this world. And then once I'm there somewhere, I'm gonna start playing with my midtones and start adding some of that. Like I'm just going from this neutral tones to like this little bit biased, you know, blue-green situation that we got going on. So I want to keep it in that to really stay true to this look that we're trying to create. And now, if I turn it on and off, and you guys can see, look at the red, look at the red, look at this, look at the ambiance, how we're capturing that, especially with our last node. From that to this, and then how much we were able to grab the skin in this node and really bring her to life. And then at that point, we can again do a couple of things. So I mean, I can go in here and add a glow, and that's doing something interesting in the window. And if we're thinking about this commercial being like a fashion spot or something like that, then it's really nice to have that. But if that's not what you want, you can just leave it off, but have it there as an option. If you want it, you can always bring it in. I'm gonna go to the film grain, and we gotta go heavy, because if you look at how much grain is there, probably not that heavy. So then I'm gonna do something like this. And so this is a pretty cool mode too. It's nice to see these modes, and like look at this. Like this is pretty cool. Right, so I mean, we were able to get it in that ballpark, nail the look. And that, like if we look at her skin compared to our girl's skin, there's gonna be a difference, because ours is Italian and she has olive skin. But if we really wanna just kind of try to get there regardless of the differences, then I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pan this over and I'm gonna open this up so I can see what's happening. I'm gonna go in my skin and then I'm just gonna I'm gonna take my midtone or gamma and start adding more magenta in there. And now if I do before and after, so now you can see we're bringing it pretty close, and I wouldn't go any further. I mean, that's close enough without making it too fake. And there you have it, guys. So that's La La Land.